Great stuff. So I've opened up the session. Hello, Daniel. Please introduce yourself in the chat. Let us know where you're from. Hello, Felicity. Dan from Chester. And Felicity, whereabouts are you from? So we'll just wait a few moments, just let people into the room. Appreciate there's quite a packed agenda today, so people may well be in different sessions. Daniel and Felicity, just asking you a quick question. Felicity from Kiel, excellent. So just whilst we're getting on, just ask you a couple of questions about how you're finding the event. Have you been to any other sessions? Or is this your first session? So we'll just give it a couple more minutes just whilst we wait to see whether anyone else comes in. Obviously, this is for those of you that are wondering whether you're in the right room. This is the StaffSavvy 30-minute speed demo. So that's good. And an interesting solution from the guys at StaffSavvy that have created this, the long history in student unions as well. So it'd be great to hear what they have to say. Thanks, Daniel, for the feedback. That's great. As I say, we're just putting on this conference stroke event with a viewpoint towards next year, where we will bring everyone to Coventry for UK City of Culture for a 2 or 3 day conference. We were going to do that this year, but obviously given a nasty virus going around, we are locked in our houses. So, great stuff. We'll just give it a couple more minutes. Really appreciate both speakers and attendees' feedback at all moments across this event. So feel free to use our Twitter, find us on Twitter. By all means, email us or let us know however you wish. Just a reminder to everyone that have come into this session, all the sessions are generally recorded with a viewpoint to publishing them online, and so they will be available for replay for anyone. So if you ever want to refer back to the session or check something out, maybe getting into the detail of actually what StaffSavvy does and reflecting on that after watching the initial session, you can always do that at a later date. So looks like we've just got 2 people in this call, but that's absolutely fine. So yeah, I would imagine this session to take about half an hour. I'm delighted to be able to introduce Andrew from StaffSavvy. He is also, StaffSavvy are also one of our sponsors for the event, so thank you to them in helping us put this on. And I'm going to hand over to Andrew. I'm actually going to, given how busy we are today, I'm actually going to have to leave this call and hand over everything to Andrew. But of course, there will be times for questions at the end. I just noticed that we've also got Katie joining us. Katie, where are you from? Please let us know in the chat. And on that note, I'm going to pass over to Andrew, who will take you through the 30-minute speed demo. Buck Students Union, great stuff. So over to Andrew. Have a great session and thanks ever so much.
Thank you. Good morning. So I'm Andrew from StaffSavvy. So today it's going to be quite a speedy view of the of our platform, but it should give you a sort of an indication of what we can do, and then if obviously ask any questions and things at the end, and then we can go through that in a bit more detail if you'd like, or we can arrange a proper demo at another time where a normal demo could last anything between an hour and 3 hours, depending on how much detail everybody wants to get into. So very quickly, and sorry if I go too fast, if there's something that you want to review at the end of it, just let me know. Obviously trying to show you the breadth of what the system can do pretty rapidly. So StaffSavvy, we are what we call workforce management. So that means we cover HR, rotas and shifts, timesheets, training, and then there's also an optional recruitment add-on. We're actually doing a session this afternoon about the recruitment add-on, so I won't cover that this morning. But if you want to know a bit more about that, then join us later on today. And the system will bring all four of those sort of key elements, or the recruitment one as well, together into one platform. Now, the reasons why we do that is why StaffSavvy. 3 big things we try and do is push responsibility down onto users. We make managers approve and set the rules rather than doing lots of data entry. And we automatically link the features together so that rather than having a HR system and a shift system and a time attendance system, they're all connected so that they can talk to each other. So the timesheets can be based on what the rota was saying. The rota will only allow people who have the correct HR information stored and all that sort of elements. So things can be much more streamlined. You can go properly paperless with it as well. This also leads through using the system to an increase in engagement because you're forcing people to take responsibility for their role with you. It's much easier in terms of compliance because a lot of the elements are automated. So you don't need to be chasing up on people providing the right paperwork at the right time because the system just won't let them do things like work without the correct paperwork, without proving their right to work and all those sorts of elements. And this also means that there is a big reduction in admin time. You're able to do a lot more things rather than chasing up that paperwork, rather than processing payroll manually and all that sort of thing. We already work with quite a few student unions, including Keele or Felicity, and there's a few more coming on board as campuses start to reopen this autumn. So we have quite a history with working with student unions. We totally understand your sort of unique world. You run basically lots of micro businesses, which are all very different from each other, but all under one roof, combined with charity and commercial arms and all the complications that can come out of that. And our system is designed to support all those different combinations. We also work with a few other well-known names, just to show you that we're not just student union. We were built within a student union originally, but now we're working across the country with lots of places you recognize, and we've got all the certifications to sort of back that up. So now onto the system. So this is the actual platform. There's no self-service login here. Everybody can log into the main system itself. What they can see and do is heavily restricted based on their permissions, and you have complete control over the permissions, so you can control exactly who can see someone's information, which piece of information they can see, who can send people an email, and all those sorts of things. So it's very easy to be GDPR compliant using this system. It's all based on your rules and your permissions. So I'm just going to go spend just 10 minutes going through shifts. Very quickly. Shifts is a big part of what we do, and then we'll move on to doing a bit more of the HR features, looking at training and communication, and a bit of the reports to finish up. Shifts within the system. So this has got just a week of shifts coming up, and I can see what days they're on. I can see what events, so I can pre-put all that information in, how many people are working. I can do forecasting in terms of staff costs and percentages and budgets. So I can see that whether I'm on budget or off budget. I'm just going to jump into what we call the grid view here. So at the top, I've got my estimates. Everybody's in here at a whopping £1 an hour, but it gives you an indication of how the system can understand your costs and what you're aiming to sell, and therefore what your staff cost percentages are. Down the left-hand side, I've got everybody who's working, and then I've got their roles. Roles are really important in the system. They basically determine who can do what, and you can have as many roles as you like. Some of these staff will have just a few, others will have far more, and you can literally decide who can have which roles, and then that will dictate which shifts they can take. Over here, I can also assign what we call tasks to a shift. That allows you to set any sort of notes against someone's shift, so they understand what they're going to be doing that day, or where they're going to be based, or what till they're on, and that sort of things. You also have start and finish times, so you can go through and see everybody's start and finish times on here, and quickly update all of the times. So if you have, you've got a whole load of people here at 9:45, then I can simply select everybody's 9:45. So if I start at 9:45, and at the bottom of the page, I can say, actually, I want them all at 9:30, for example, informing staff automatically, and change the shifts. It'll be updated. Send that straight through to them via push notifications, emails, updates, calendar syncs, and all those sorts of elements. Over here, you've also got some what we call unassigned shifts. So you've got unassigned, extra shift, and offered shifts. The unassigned shifts allow you to simply choose the staff member you want to work at, work that shift. Extra shifts will go out to staff, offering that shift on a first come first serve basis, and offered shifts mean that staff can offer to work, and then you can choose from the people who have offered to work that shift which one you actually want to assign that shift to. Whenever you're assigning or offering the shifts out, simply bring up this box, which will give you a list of everyone who is able to work. And then you can see the list of the staff. It will pull in any piece of information that mean that they won't be able to work. So this person's missing their right to work documents. Joe is already working, and you'll see other warnings coming up, such as maximum hours, not enough break periods, and all those sorts of other rules that you can apply in our system, so you ensure that staff aren't working too much and have the correct rest periods between any shifts that they do. The big orange and green boxes over here indicating these staff have minimum hours on their contract that they need to be given. So anyone who's green is saying that they need more hours under their contract. Anyone who's orange says they already actually met their contracted hours, so over by a little bit. So I can choose someone quick and easily that needs 5 hours, so Adrian, and I can assign that shift here. I've also got staff who've got no hours assigned, and I can also have staff that are on 0 hours contracts, and it will show me just how many hours they've already got to help me assign it to the right person, so that I'm trying to be equal and share. Now, all of this is very manual, as you can see, but it's the day-to-day sort of admin and adjusting of shifts that you might need to do. It's going to swap you to a different view quickly. So this one is a more pretty view. You can color code each of the shifts based on their role. So I can see at a glance I've got bar staff, I can see that I've got first aiders, I've got 3 first aiders on, I can see duty managers pink with dots, so I can see at a glance what my coverage is throughout the day. And also I can click to edit any of these shifts, so I can just select those and I'm going to adjust their times, and as I drag it up and down, it will automatically be recalculating what the costs are for that shift for those individual staff members based on their hourly rate of pay, and telling me what that is at the top. And as soon as I get on budget, it'll give me a nice green box and confirm that I'm on budget, so I can know that I'm within what I'm aiming to spend for that particular event. Again, saving those will automatically update the staff with the new times that they've been sent, so you just no manual work to update them at all. A couple of other views. Week view is pretty popular, particularly amongst smaller teams. So here I've got each of the days of the week across the top, and all the shifts that we've already been looking at down the page, so nothing on the Thursday there. But I can change this to different views depending on how I want to see it. So I can see all the staff down the left, how many hours they've been given across the page, and I can just simply click to add shifts as well. I can see the budgets across each of the days at the top. And the final view is what we call quick edit, which is essentially like Excel. So from here, I can simply click to add someone's shift, and I can say 2 p.m. to, let's say, 5:30 p.m. So I'm just typing in literally the times that I want. As soon as I click off, the system will understand what I've requested, double check that it's not going to be breaking any of the contract rules that we put in place, and then turn it green to say that I've accepted it. It's accepted it, and that the staff member will be updated. If there are any rules or availability issues with it, it will turn it orange and explain why it can't assign that shift to them. So again, these are all views just to do the micromanagement of each of the individual days. What we have here is what we call our rotoring tool. This tool is designed to create your rotas in bulk and assign shifts out to staff members. So it's perfect for having large teams where you want to assign multiple, you've got all their availability, you want to assign out multiple days, multiple weeks to staff automatically. I'm just going to turn off the budget and events just to clear this up. So each one of these is a template that I've built. And if I just view a template just to show you, you have basically the requirements of the shift that I've got in there. So I've got 2 bar staff, 2 duty managers, 5 more bar staff, all at different times, and there's loads of other options and things around here to allow you to have the system select the right people for that shift. So there's lots of different options as to how that all works. But this basically says these are the staffing requirements that I have, and then all we've done is plotted those onto the days that I want them to be on. I can also layer up the templates as well. So I might say, well, we've also got a gig on the 14th. So I'm just going to add that on to 14th of August. And it will layer up the templates. So I don't have to have a template for every single day. I can combine the templates that I have onto a single rota so that it will combine that staffing into one sort of pattern of shifts. This is currently showing just one, what we call venue. You can have as many different venues on here as you like, or different outlets or rooms, so that the system will automatically be able to populate a whole department all in one go, but understand where each staff member will be working within that. Now, to actually accurately assign these shifts out, there are 3 things we need. 2 things we need. We need the staff who with the roles. So we need to know who can do each one of those roles. So who can be a duty manager, who can be a supervisor, who can be a bar staff, who can do first aid, which I'll show you in just a few minutes how we set that up. And we also need their availability. So under their contract, you can set the hours they can do and any limits and rest periods they need, etc. And then you can also allow them to do 2 types of availability. You have time off requests or holiday requests, so perfect for reading weeks or whole weekends where they don't want to work, etc. And that's an approval based process, so it comes through to you to approve or deny. And then you also have weekly preferences, which is more designed around their lecture patterns or societies and things. So they can come in and say, these are the times during the week that I can't work. You have a lot of rules and options and restrictions you can put on this. But the idea is that staff can keep this up to date all of the time, so that whenever you're creating shifts or assigning shifts, it is using the correct latest information. It's not something they updated 3 weeks ago and is now changed. Their responsibility is to keep this up to date. It's not going to, if I suddenly ask for Friday mornings off or for a couple of hours, it's not going to take me off any shifts I've been assigned. It will just use this for the next rota that's created. So with all that information within the system's able to actually allocate those shifts out. So there's a load of options again as to how it's going to do that, all around making sure the right staff are assigned in the right orders, getting the right patterns, that the shifts you find hardest to fill are filled first, and all that sort of stuff. So I'm just going to create this rota. While it's doing that, it's going to do 2 months worth. It's going to do August and September. While it's assigning those shifts out, I'll also say if you've got staff who have got a fixed pattern, so they always do every Thursday between 10 and 2, or they have a 3-week repeating shift pattern. The system can do all of that as well. You simply put that in against their account and it will automatically create those shifts and assign them to them on a rolling basis, and it can do it just in term times and not on bank holidays and all those sorts of nuances that you get within the system. So this in the background is going through and assigning that 2 months worth of shifts out to staff, looking at their availability, checking all their requirements in terms of documentation and their preferences in terms of when they should work. And while I've been blabbering, it's done 1,080 shifts. If I just have a little look at the sort of summary of it, it's going to list all the staff it's been able to assign shifts out to here. It's telling me the total number of breaks, total number of hours they've got, sorry, excluding the breaks. And then on the right-hand side, I also have big boxes for anyone who's got minimum hours that they need to be doing. And it's going to be confirming that it's met their requirements in terms of their hours they should be getting. Should be someone down here who's not quite so lucky. And that's Alex. I can pop that up. And it's going to show me each of the contract periods. So this person's contracted for 5 hours a week. And it's going to show me each of the weeks that the rota has been covering and telling me, proving that it's either met those hours or not met those hours. And the only week it hasn't been able to do is the last week, which we haven't fully rotated yet. So it's been successful and everything else is just not enough shifts for that final week. There's various views for how I want to see this information, but once I'm sort of happy, because I can rerun this preview any number of times that I like, once I'm happy, I can just convert this through to real shifts. So I can choose how they're displayed, whether they're immediately available for staff, whether they're locked. So if they're locked, staff can't swap them between each other. This is particularly useful if you want individuals to always work those shifts and you don't want them to be able to request cover from colleagues or exchange shifts automatically and all that sort of thing. Hidden shifts mean that you haven't published them yet, so you can make any adjustments that you want. And obviously hidden and locked is a combination of both the other two options, so that when you unhide them, the shifts remain locked and they can't swap them. So I'm just going to convert those through. And then this will just put all those shifts into the pages that we were already looking at on the other page. So I go through to control shifts. I now have multiple weeks of rotas all now created that I can go into and make any adjustments that I want to within there. So that is building up your sort of plan as to what you want to happen. Now, inevitably, the plan doesn't always go to plan. So what we have are clock-in screens. The clock-in screens are basically to record the actual time entries that staff want to work in. So, or the start time the staff are actually working. So on this page, you've got expected staff. Those are people who are due to be clocking in. You've got the staff who are currently clocked in. So these are the individuals who are currently working. And staff can simply come up to the screens and clock in and out. You can also allow them to clock in and out remotely if you want. But it's available for you to have on any number of devices, whether they're till systems or physical tablets on the walls or desktops, etc. To clock in, I'm going to let's clock Annie in first. It's going to show me the picture, and I'm going to say, yes, I'm clocking in. Annie's actually turned out to be late, just missed her clock-in time. And so it's going to warn her that Annie was late, and that record that automatically against their account. On this page as well, you can see people who are working overtime, so I should be looking to send them home as a supervisor, and people who are finishing shortly at particular times within the page. So I can see when people are due to be finishing. Tony has also been sent on a break and is now late back after the break. So the system understands everybody's break policies, when staff can go on breaks, when they should be coming back, whether they should be paid or unpaid. And if I jump to one of these other views, I can see a list of everyone who's due breaks within the system, and they can then be taken, sent on a break automatically, and that will come off their times. There's various other options on here which we won't cover today, but essentially this allows you to accurately record the staff who are showing up to work at an individual place for a shift. The last sort of approval part for most supervisors is then what we call a daily review. The daily review, let me Back to list of days. The daily review allows you to then go through and see all the shifts that are on that particular day. You can also go through and see all those shifts in a different view as well. Let me just flick this up in here a second. So this is what we call the full list of all the time entries that haven't yet been approved. And from here, I can go through and set all of the whether staff are approved to be paid or not. So I also have a complete view of all the items that they've done. This is going back quite a few years in the demo system, but I can make any adjustments to this at any time that I want to, and it means that I can easily go through and just approve and make tweaks. I can also use the daily review, which is what we recommend. And the daily review is really useful because you can see the context of the time entries against what they were actually due to be working. So there are 17 shifts worked as planned, so there's no overtime or anything like that. I've got additional hours. So within here, I've got Jake and Robert who have done additional hours, and I can approve those or edit those. And basically it brings all the combination of what you rotated combined with what was actually done so that you can make informed decisions on whether approving time entries or not. The final sort of step for running payroll is to create what we call a wage sheet. The wage sheet basically pulls all of the time entries that have been approved together into one document so that you can then download that into your payroll system. And we support loads of different payroll systems automatically. So you can simply download one file and import it straight into another, and it makes it very straightforward, reduces a lot of admin in terms of that process. So that was a whistle-stop tour of shifts and then time entries. The next sort of element in our very breezy 30-minute demo are more of the HR functions. So I'm just going to bring up a not very good employee here. So Daisy's not our best employee. And this is their profile page. So I can see all the basic information of where they are, what access they have, what their contact details are, if I have permission to see that information. I can see employment details, so I can set continuous employment start dates. I can also see the payroll details, if it's for example, Sage payrolls details are being pulled in here. I have access to right to work information and onboarding. So right to work, we have a full right to work process where they'll go through a set of questionnaires, and the questionnaires will then dictate what documents they need to provide to you and tell you when and how they need to provide that information, because obviously you need to see a lot of the original documents. The onboarding steps allow you to set a series of requirements against each of the staff members. So they might have to bring in, right to work might be the first one. They might have to sign their contract. They might have to provide next of kin details. They might have to provide bank details. They might have to complete a training session or an onboarding session in person. You might need to do exams, all that sort of thing. You can bring into onboarding status steps so that they are stepped through what's required before they're allowed to work anywhere. Private details. So this is where you can bring in all this sort of information, and you can add any block to this that you want. So ethnicity is a custom block here. You can add any further information that you want in any types of formats so that you can control that information, manage that as you need to, restrict who has access to it, and all those sorts of other elements. Skills tab, this will bring in all their roles, so I can see all the roles that they can do, whether they're active or inactive. Against each of these roles, you can basically set requirements. Now, this is where some of the more powerful features come into the system. So if I go into Usher at the bottom here, I can set up a few requirements. So requirements basically mean to do this job, you need these documentations or training programs or certificates. So I can say you must have a particular document. I'm just going to put working timeout in there. I might require them to complete the health and safety exam every 180 days, for example. If I save that off, Then against Daisy's account, it will now say that she can't actually be an usher because she hasn't met all the requirements, and then it will detail out what requirements she needs to do. So she's already done the working time out opt-out, and it's not required anyway, but the exam, she hasn't completed that, so she needs to go through and do that. So with this, it really allows you to be to improve your compliance, pushing through all of these sort of requirements through to the staff member. So if I go in this as Daisy, it will be asking Daisy to go through and complete the exam. So it pushes all the responsibility down onto the staff member and removes that requirement for HR or managers to go around chasing people to do something that they don't normally want to do. Certificates, so it's bringing in the certificates that they've completed and are available to them. Exams, so I can see my health and safety exam. She hasn't done that yet on here. So it brings it all together into one platform. Shifts, so I've got a list of her shifts. She's not actually working on any shifts coming up at the moment, but I've also got statistics, and from here I can see that she's been late 78 times and unauthorized absence 7 times, and I can bring that up and see the reasons, when they were, any notes that have been assigned to them, and full details of it, and I can obviously print that off to do disciplinaries. Speaking of disciplinaries, they can go into your personnel record, and you can add any template that you like into this. Verbal warning could be in a format of a letter. It will do mail merge for you automatically about when it was done, what was agreed. You can have digital signatures on it as well. And it means you can have all that information stored in one place within the system. Contract tab, this brings through details about their signed contract or agreement. So maximum hours, you can have their signed copies they've digitally signed within the system. Gives you summary of their hours that they've done over the last few weeks. And you can also then view more detailed reports, particularly if you have full-timers or annualized hours within the system, then you'll need to be looking in a bit more detail about how they're spending their hours, etc. Availability, so brings through when people prefer not to work and any time off that they've decided to book. Within the system, you can also do documents. So I'm just going to show you signing a document. This is that timeout opt-out that we mentioned earlier, working time directive opt-out, but you can create any template that you like in here, and you can also add boxes for people to complete parts of the forms themselves, so you can build up your own forms within here if you want. This is doing just a simple mail merge, so names and any of their staff data you want to put in. And I'm just going to say, yes, I confirm to opt out, and then I'm going to do my signature. And confirm that. It'll go into my account so I can see the preview of it here, and if I download a copy, then the system will produce a PDF ready to be printed off. Have your logo in the top corner, opt-out agreement, what's been signed, when it's been signed, digital signature, etc. So it's all available for you. And then you can automatically as well link that document through to their account. So for example, with the working time opt-out, I can then have the system automatically lift some of the restrictions on their contract so that they aren't restricted to the 48 hours a week, etc. The system has management tools for toil, as well as obviously holiday and authorization and holiday entitlements, and all those sorts of elements as well. You also have what we call triggers. Triggers basically allow you to do workflows automatically. So one of the most common ones is a lateness form. So you might say, as this example here shows, automatically request a lateness form if there are 2 instances of lateness within 14 days. So the system will automatically monitor the lateness using those clocking screens. And if someone has more than 2 in 14 days, it will automatically ask them to go and complete a form. Once they complete the form, it will then automatically send that to their line manager for them to review. And then you have a fully sort of automated process for that element. And you can have as many triggers and workflows as you like to really bring all those elements together. Okay. Last sort of 5 minutes, a brief introduction on training. Training comes in several guises. You have training programs and training certificates. Training certificates are an individual item such as a gold, bronze and silver certificate or food hygiene certificates. And these can be either complicated training programs in the sense of physical training courses on dates that you want to set up, or they can be fully digital. So you can say, this is a training program that you need to review a slideshow or view these documents and then complete a digital exam through the system. That exam can either be multiple choice and automatically marked, and you put the scoring scheme in there, or it can be essay based and then goes off to a manager to be reviewed. And if you want, it can also be audited by a third person as well, particularly on the more important certificates. So those are certificates that could then come into the system and then generate physical certificates, so they can download it or have it in their account. And these certificates could also be external certificates, so things like food hygiene, where the staff member just uploads a copy of their certificate they've been awarded either on a different system or physically, and then a manager can approve to say yes, they've completed that certificate. The training programs allow you to link those certificates together. So I can say part of my general training, I've got phase 1, I've got these 2 certificates that are required, phase 2, these 2, phase 3 of that. And then once you've passed all of that, you've completed your general training. So you might have a induction training program, which has several elements they need to complete within it. Once they've completed those, then it pulls all that together and can issue another certificate on the back of that to say they've completed all of those important training programs. You can also use exams just ad hoc. You can use them as requirements on roles, so they need to complete exams on certain times. And you can also use it within your onboarding process. So it's really flexible as to how you use those elements. You also have a resource library where you can upload all your documents. You have a forum where you can have staff communication back and forth around topics, and you can limit topics to certain roles or access levels as well within the system. And finally, you also have feedback. What this feedback allows you to do is on sort of physical courses, you can ask for staff members to provide feedback on how that course was, and then you can review that information so you can make sure that you're improving continuously your training process throughout the system. Last 2 minutes, I'm just going to go through a couple of the communication tools. So we have a one-to-one messaging system, basically it's like secure email, so that staff can ask personal questions and things to other staff members directly, and it's all logged and recorded and encrypted within the system. You also have news. This is a bit like the post on the back of the staff room door, so you can put any message you like or pictures, and then you can choose who should get it. So all staff, people who have particular roles, or people who are working particular times or in particular teams, and the system will automatically tell you how many people are going to get that message, and it will send that directly to their inbox. It will also show up in their accounts. They have full access to it, but it won't enforce them to read that information. So it is very much like a poster up in the wall. What you also have are alerts. Alerts you can issue in the same way, but an alert will go through far more prominently to the staff member. They have to log on to read it, and they can't get distracted when they do log on. It won't let them do anything else in the system until they've acknowledged this alert. And it's perfect for health and safety messages, compliance, changes in protocols, all that sort of thing. So you then get a report like this, where it will tell you all your staff, when they signed it, anyone who's not signed yet, and how long they read it for to make sure they've actually paid some attention to it. If you want, you can also ask them to provide information, so multiple choice, for example, which is commonly for student unions used to see who is willing to return next year. So you can get a steer as to how many staff you want to be hiring, etc. But you can use it for any purpose that you want. And of course, you can then download the CSV report out the back of it from the top there. The system, the very last point to mention, has a whole load of reports, so pre-configured reports that you've got down here, and availability maps and right to work reports and consoles, where it will show you the proof that you've had for staff members right to work throughout their career review. But you also have the option to manage and build custom reports up. And a custom report, you literally can choose whatever y-axis down the left-hand side you want, and then pick and mix any number of dozens and dozens of columns that you want to put in there. And we can add columns really easily into here as well. So it might be how many times have they had unauthorized absence, and then you can set the time range in your report and pull all that information out to see it. So you can literally build up any custom reports that you so desire. So that should now be coming up to just half an hour. So that is the 30-minute demo in a nutshell. Felicity, you're the only one who's made it through to the end. Do you have any questions at all from the session so far? Anything you want to have a look at in more detail? I'll wait and let you have a think and type it in. I'm more than happy to arrange any further demos in a little bit slower pace. So you just get in touch on our website, StaffSavvy.com, and then we can arrange more focused demos on any of the areas that you've got in there, or show further teams if you want to do that as well. Wow, as there's no questions from Felicity, then we might as well wrap up the session. Thank you very much. And for anyone who's listening afterwards, thank you for watching all the way through. And sorry if it was a bit fast in places, but hopefully it gave you a good understanding about all the different elements that the system can do and how it can bring things together and automate a lot of your day-to-day processes to really heavily reduce that admin time and make sure you don't get any of the more compliance headaches, so that you're not sat there saying, I had no idea this person was working for us. We don't have any documents for them at all. And also in this post-COVID world, help you go fully paperless, get rid of all the paper timesheets, paper sign-off documents, paper notes and things scribbled that you get handed to you in different formats. Keep them all neatly digitally stored on here, and allow more people and more admin staff to be working from home or working flexibly as well. So that wraps up today. Thank you very much, and hopefully talk to you soon. Thank you. Bye.